Ethan Blake straightened his tie for the third time as the elevator ascended. He looked sharp, confident on the surface, but his reflection betrayed nerves. At 28, he had just landed the role of personal assistant to the CEO of Lancaster Holdings, the premier luxury real estate firm in the city. With the promotion came money, prestige, and direct access to Veronica Lancaster. Veronica wasn't just a CEO, she was a force. 63 years old, razor-sharp, and unapologetically powerful, she commanded respect with a glance. Her hair, streaked with silver, only added to her allure. Her reputation was built on brilliance, ruthless business moves, and whispered rumors. No one challenged her, and won. Ethan had met her only twice before his promotion. Brief interactions. Formal. But her eyes had lingered longer than necessary, as though she was sizing him up. Now he'd be reporting to her personally. On his first day, a single note waited on his desk. Conference room. 8:15 sharp. No name. None needed. She was already seated when he arrived, poised, reading something with casual intensity. The room was sterile, cold. All glass and steel. "You're on time," she said without looking up. "That's something." "Thank you, Ms. Lancaster." Don't bother with flattery," she said, eyes flicking to him. "Loyalty. Control. Those are what I value." She rose and circled the table slowly, heels clicking in sharp rhythm. "Can you handle that, Ethan?" "I can," he replied, though he wasn't sure. She approached, brushing a finger across his collar to fix an invisible flaw. "We'll see." From that moment on, everything changed. Late-night meetings. Private messages. Sudden invites to review files in her suite. The boundaries blurred fast. He convinced himself it was harmless, just part of the job. But in private, her presence was magnetic, overpowering, like gravity pulling him closer. Whispers followed him around the office. Marcus Trent, the company's vice president, was blunt. "She grooms them," Marcus muttered one day. "Uses them, then replaces them." Ethan shrugged it off, but the word stuck. At home, Chloe, his fiancée, noticed the distance growing. A sweet, grounded schoolteacher, she filled their small apartment with laughter, post-it notes, and wedding magazines. "You barely look at me anymore," she said one night, folding socks as he typed on his phone. "I'm swamped with work," he replied, barely looking up. "You didn't even kiss me when you walked in." "I'm just tired." She didn't argue, but her eyes said she didn't believe him. Meanwhile, Veronica was everywhere, dominating his days, creeping into his nights. One evening, after a company gala, she asked him to stay behind. Said she needed help with post-event numbers. When he followed her to the private elevator, he told himself it was just business. But her penthouse office was far from businesslike. Dim lights, soft music, the scent of jasmine in the air. She handed him a drink, no questions asked, and raised her glass. "To ambition," she said. They drank in silence. Then, she took his glass, set it aside, and moved closer. Her fingers traced his wrist. "You're the kind I like," she said. "Hungry. I want to succeed," Ethan said cautiously. "And I want to see how far you'll go for it." Her hand slid up his chest. He didn't stop her. She smiled, slowly and with intent. "Good," she whispered. And Ethan let it happen. Ethan barely remembered the elevator ride down from Veronica's suite. His body moved on autopilot, but his mind was tangled in a fog of heat and disbelief. What they'd done wasn't just wrong, it was reckless. But the worst part? He hadn't even tried to resist. The next morning, Veronica acted like nothing had happened. She was all business, stoic and sharp in the conference room. No glances. No smirks. Just clipped directives and a cold efficiency that left Ethan wondering if the night before had been a dream. But then came the text. 9 p.m., Suite 47. Don't be late. He stared at it, heart pounding. He was supposed to have dinner with Chloe, reservations she'd been excited about for weeks. But 9 p.m. arrived, and instead of candlelight and pasta, he found himself stepping into Veronica's private suite again. She was standing by the tall windows, framed by city lights and shadows, sipping red wine in a silk robe that dared him to look. "I almost thought you'd grown a conscience," she said, not turning around. He stood by the door, uncertain. "We shouldn't do this again." She finally faced him, her expression unreadable. "Shouldn't and won't are two different things. I have someone I'm going to marry." Veronica approached slowly, like a predator, sizing up her prey. "She wears your ring. I own your future." "That's not true." "You keep saying that," she whispered, placing his hand on her waist. "But you keep coming back." Their second night together was more intense than the first. She didn't just want his body. She wanted obedience. She moved like someone used to control, and Ethan found himself falling deeper into her rhythm, forgetting the lines he swore he wouldn't cross. When he woke the next morning, she was gone. A single note lay on the pillow. "Mistakes get corrected. Obedience gets rewarded." Back at work, everything changed. Promotions, sudden praise, high-profile meetings, doors opened for Ethan that had once seemed impossible. Veronica was pulling the strings, and he was dancing on command. Meanwhile, Chloe noticed his growing distance. She stayed up waiting, left handwritten notes in his bag, asked questions he dodged. He told himself it would end soon, that he was in control, that he could stop anytime. But Veronica wasn't just a lover. She was an addiction. She started testing him, summoning him at random hours, interrupting his life, demanding loyalty not just in bed, but in business. When he tried to message Chloe during a ride to her car, she plucked the phone from his hands, read the message, and deleted it. "When you're with me, you're mine," she said simply. "You understand that, don't you?" He nodded. Not because he agreed, but because saying no never seemed like an option. At a gala, she introduced him to a senator, then leaned in and whispered, "Tell him you're my future." Ethan did. The words burned, but the applause that followed drowned out his shame. Back home, Chloe was slipping away. One night, she found a cufflink in the laundry, gold, engraved with a V. Ethan claimed it was Marcus's borrowed jacket. She didn't argue, but she didn't believe him. Her kisses started feeling like goodbyes. And Marcus? He knew. He didn't say it outright, but one passing comment was all it took. "You think you're winning," Marcus muttered as he walked by. "But she's just getting ready to throw you off the board." That was the tipping point. Ethan barged into Veronica's office one night after hours. She was sitting behind her desk, composed as ever. "I'm done," he said. "Whatever this is, it's over." She didn't flinch. "That's not how this works." "I don't care. I won't be part of your games anymore." She stood slowly, walking around the desk. "You think this was a game?" Her voice lowered. "You're not quitting, Ethan. You're forfeiting. Everything you have, every step you've climbed, I gave you that. Without me, you're nothing here." He hesitated. Her smile returned. "Go on. Walk out. But remember, your fall won't be a stumble. It'll be a lesson." In that moment, Ethan realized something chilling. He had never been steering the wheel. He was just a passenger, headed exactly where she wanted. The consequences came swift and sharp. 2 days after Ethan told Veronica he wanted to end things, Chloe received an anonymous email. The message was brief. "This is who truly has him." Attached were 2 photos. In both, Ethan was unmistakably entwined with Veronica, his shirt open, lips grazing her neck, time-stamped just weeks ago. That night, the apartment was quiet. A suitcase lay half-packed on their bed. Chloe stood by the window, holding the printed photos with one hand and her engagement ring in the other. She didn't cry. That silence crushed Ethan more than any scream could. "I believed in you," she said, voice calm but shaking. "All I ever asked for was honesty." "Chloe, I made a mistake, but No," she cut in, her gaze like ice. "You made a decision." He stepped closer, but she stepped back. "You betrayed me for someone who sees you as disposable," she whispered. "I hope it was worth it." She didn't wait for his reply. She zipped the suitcase, walked to the door, and left. No slammed door. No final glance. Just quiet, brutal closure. Ethan was left alone, sinking in guilt. The next morning, he stormed into Veronica's office, fury burning through his veins. She looked up from her laptop, calm as ever. "You sent the photos," he said. She didn't deny it. "I protected what's mine. You destroyed my life." Veronica's smile was faint, cold. "You did that all by yourself. I was loyal to you." She tilted her head. "You were useful. There's a difference." He stared at her, jaw tight. "I'm done. With you. With this company." "Walk away then," she replied, folding her hands. "But everything you've built here, your name, your network, your rise, that was my gift. Take me out of the equation, and what's left?" He left anyway. But she wasn't bluffing. Within a week, his name was stripped from key projects. Marcus Trent was suddenly given the title of executive strategist, a position that hadn't existed until now. Ethan was moved into a small, windowless office, stuck doing grunt work. The message was clear. He was being erased. Chloe blocked his number. She didn't answer his calls, texts, or voicemails. He sent flowers, letters, even stood outside her building one evening just to catch a glimpse of her. He did. She was smiling, sitting across from another man, his hand covering hers across a restaurant table. She looked at peace. That smile haunted him. Back at work, the isolation thickened. Colleagues avoided eye contact. The elevator rides were silent. Marcus strutted like a man who'd finally won. One afternoon, an envelope was slipped onto Ethan's desk. No name, just a room key and a note in Veronica's familiar handwriting. "If you ever feel like being seen again." He stared at it, then threw it in the trash. But he didn't quit. He didn't fight. He just kept showing up. Because somewhere deep down, he knew Veronica still had her hooks in him. Weeks blurred together. Veronica officially retired, though everyone knew she still controlled things from behind the scenes. Her influence clung to every floor like perfume that wouldn't fade. Ethan functioned like a ghost, present but unseen. His ideas were overlooked. His name forgotten. He was still there, but he wasn't there. One night, he sat in a small cafe, watching people pass by. Then he saw her, Chloe, walking arm in arm with the man from before. Her laugh reached him even through the glass. She didn't see him. Or maybe she did, and chose not to. He turned back to his coffee. The steam curled upward, disappearing like everything else in his life. Veronica had once told him, "Men like you think power is earned, but true power is taken, seized, controlled. And once you hand it over, it's never really yours again." She had been right. He thought he was in control. But all along, he was just another name on her list. Another man too weak to resist. Another pawn used and discarded. And as the city lights blinked overhead and strangers passed him by, Ethan understood one final truth. He'd never been her equal. He had only ever been her plaything.